Hey, what's going on? My name is Coach Corey. Today in this video, I'm gonna break down food labels for you. But first, I wanna introduce why we're talking about this today. As I continue to fine tune my coaching and just getting better at finding good information, it is damn hard to find good information, trustworthy information in the world that we live in today. And I find myself using this statement constantly with my clients. In the world we live in today, we want to understand where our food comes from, etc. I'm sure you can insert your own "in the world we live in today" statement right here. Again, in this video, we're going to break down nutrition labels. In the world we live in today, you need to understand what you're looking at on the back of one of those packages. Now, let me start first of all. Very first thing we got to say here is that I'm always going to recommend that you don't eat foods that come with nutrition labels. We should be looking for single ingredient foods like beef, butter, bacon, eggs. I'm a little bit biased there. Vegetables typically are going to have one ingredient unless you're buying them in the freezer section or pre-made. And these are the kinds of foods that should comprise more than 90% of our intake. But I understand that everyone watching this video is not there yet on their nutrition journey. And so again, we just need to remain aware of what's going in our mouths every single time it's time to eat. So we're gonna break down food labels for you, and I've got 3 categories of how this information is organized. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's go ahead and dive into what you need to know about food labels in the world we live in today. All right, so let's start out with the good news first. Now, nutrition labels are essential. The FDA regulates nutrition labels here in the United States, and the majority of the information that I'm going to be sharing with you in this video can just be found on their website. Where I did find some external information, I will link those sources below so that you can follow up and challenge me, question me, let me know what's wrong so that I can change what I'm coaching, right? I definitely know that, again, with this convoluted nutrition landscape, you can kind of always find what you're looking for. So if you know something that I don't know, drop a comment below. Let me know what I may be confusing a little bit, and I would be more than happy to correct myself and follow up on this video for you. So to start, we're gonna go with the good. And what's funny about this is I was making notes on this video, I noticed that my good notes section was about this big. The bad is about this big, and the ugly is like this big. So bear with me, I'm gonna give you the good news first. That's what I like to do, okay? So the good news in nutrition labels here. Nutrition labels provide information on serving size, specific amounts of macro and micronutrient content of that food, of course, as well as the caloric value. These are things that we can all typically identify on that nutrition label. So they show the ingredients, typically listed from main ingredients using greater quantities to lesser ingredients like spices, added flavors, colored dyes, preservatives, emulsifiers in lower quantities, right? The other thing we're gonna notice, and I'm gonna talk about this a lot more later, is the daily recommended values. And I'm gonna shorten that to the DRV or the percent DRV. It's important to understand that those daily recommended values are based off of a 2,000 calorie intake. When it comes to the percent daily value, percent DRV, you'll notice that 5% or less is considered low, while 20% or more is considered high. And again, that's per the FDA's website. What's great is that we need this information. If you have any experience counting macros or maybe counting calories to try to get healthier, to control your intake, you think you're doing all the right stuff by reading these nutrition labels. And it is a really great place to start. And so that is really what is great about having that information right there on all of the foods that we're consuming. We're gonna move right into the bad. You betcha, that's all the good stuff that I could come up with. Let me know if you've got other great stuff that you notice on your nutrition labels. Then again, comment below, let me know, y'all. So here we go, let's continue with the bad. Now, the values that we see for macronutrients specifically here, they're rounded down. So even if there's more than a 0.5 decimal behind that number, it's likely that the food label is rounding down. And we're gonna go into a little more detail on that right here. So food manufacturers are technically not allowed to round up to the nearest whole numbers, as many of us were maybe taught in high school, middle school. So for example, if there's 0.9 grams of protein in a serving of a specific food, the label is allowed to read 0 grams of protein. Again, kind of goes against some things that we learned in high school. Regarding servings per container, for example, if there's 3.32 servings per container, we'll see that number rounded down to 3. And regarding calories, if the food item has 5 or fewer calories, you can round down to 0. So here's my concern with these guidelines is that I can't really help but wonder how that inefficiency manifests when the standard American diet, per the United States dietary guidelines, recommends an average of about 65% of your calories coming from likely processed food sources, specifically carbohydrates, if we're talking about the macronutrient content. So if we're always rounding down, how can we be sure of what we're actually getting? What if you're eating more than one serving of a food? Let's talk Oreos. Who only eats 2 Oreo cookies? Okay, that food shouldn't really be in our intake, but we all know nobody's sticking to 2 cookies for that serving. And then once we start to add that, there's multiple items that are processed on our plate or in our meals. I think that this tends to manifest as an unhealthy level of intake of processed foods and the nutrients that may be found in those foods. Let's talk about daily values. The daily value or daily recommended value, DV, DRV, or percent daily value, percent DV, is defined as the recommended amount of nutrients to consume or not exceed each day. The percent DV is how much a nutrient in a single serving of an individual packaged food or dietary supplement contributes to your daily diet, again, per the FDA's website. Unfortunately, what you need to know here is that the percent daily value shown on nutrition labels is a minimum requirement. It's not a target. And it's certainly not optimal. And so I'll leave you with that one. My question is, why are we not recommending or at least shooting for optimal? So let's talk protein again, my favorite nutrient. The daily value for protein is 50 grams per day. And what I want to tell you is that when I coach my clients, I recommend about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And likely women need a little bit more than that, but that is a really good minimum. If you speak in kilograms, you might see these numbers for per kilogram of body weight, 1.6. And again, I would go as high as 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. In the United States today, the average American roughly consumes about 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. And again, my recommended value would be anywhere from 1.6 to 2.2, and the average American is at 0.8. More than 40% of Americans do not get their daily recommended value of protein, and that again is based off of a minimum requirement. So not great. Next, we're gonna talk about the ugly. Let's talk about the ugly of the nutrition labels. So the FDA notoriously allows some ingredients that are commonly banned in the United States. Introducing the GRAS list, generally recognized as safe. The GRAS list, and I quote, includes any substance that is intentionally added to food, is a food additive that is subject to pre-market review and approval by the FDA, unless the substance is generally recognized among qualified experts as having been adequately shown to be safe under the conditions of its intended use. or unless the use of the substance is otherwise accepted from the definition of a food additive per the FDA's website. So what does that mean? It means that food manufacturers can use toxic chemicals like a known carcinogen, Red 40, in small amounts, because the FDA says that they're adequately safe. Do you feel comfortable feeding your family, or yourself for that matter, adequately safe foods? I'll stick with beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. So while the FDA has banned, many of these additives, there are still many that are banned in Europe that we're allowed to use here in the United States. So what are we really kind of taking away from this video here today? We need to be eating whole foods. We kind of need to have an understanding of where our food is coming from best you can. What's most important when it comes to your intake is that it needs to fit into your budget as well. And so sometimes knowing exactly where our food came from might not be the best way to approach your nutrition lifestyle, I guess would be a good way to put that. And so we need to kind of make sure all of these pieces fit together, and we really just need to do the best that we can. I never demand perfection of my clients. I never demand perfection of myself. Just how good can we do in this moment to get ourselves some really healthy food, and just really taking it one step at a time. There's a great quote I heard from one of my business mentors, and I'm going to repeat it to you here today because we're talking about processed foods and food stuff. Show me your refrigerator and pantry, and I'll show you your health. Remember that your nutrition strategy should always, number one, be the one with which you can stay consistent. Number two, it gets you the results that you are looking for, and no one but you can define that. And it allows for the fullest expression of your healthy self. You should be at optimal health, and the nutrition aspect is the foundation. It's the bottom line. Anything you want to do with your body, your mind, it requires good, clean energy. So focus on healthy animal fats and proteins, consume carbohydrates that feel good to you, and move your body. Some of the best nutrition and fitness advice I could give you. If you've made it this far, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you found this at least a little bit helpful. Let me know what you think about this information. Please let me know, again, what else do you want to learn? I want to learn with you. I want to bring this information to you in a way that's really easy to understand. Thank you. Have an awesome rest of your day.